Well, good morning, ladies. We're going to get started here, and welcome to 4 Powerful Days with 4 Incredible Business Mentors. And I would like to say thank you for joining me this week. It's been an incredible week. We had a little bit of a hiccup on Wednesday, but we managed to get through it. And I thank you for working with me in this technical issue that I had. Now, today we have guest speaker Lynn Tetreault, and she is from Peterborough, Ontario, and she brings with us a wealth of knowledge. And today she's going to share with us some Facebook live solo tips going live on Facebook. So just a little intro about Lynn. Lynn has developed a program called Focus 15, and that's where she does these interviews and insights on entrepreneurs, and she does it on Facebook Live on Wednesday afternoons at 3 o'clock. And it's well worth tuning in to her Focus 15 page and hearing the people that she interviews. Now, she also has learned many different techniques over the years and how to overcome the fear of public speaking and being camera shy and all that good stuff. So today she's going to share some insight with us, and I hope you thoroughly enjoy it, and I know you will, actually. So Lynn, it's all yours.
Great, thank you very much, Sherry. Let's start off. Who has done a Facebook Live? You drop that into the chat or raise your hand. Okay, we've got 2 people who aren't on video, and the thing is, those are my target market. Those people who choose not to. Not me. Don't pick on me. Yes, generally speaking, those. My daughter is in university right now, and she's learning from home, and all her classes are online. And you can tell, she says it's easy to tell who the favorite teachers are, because over time, those who used to not have their video on start engaging and show their faces, whereas the teachers that aren't all that great keep it shut down and don't engage. So that's something that she's observed over her last semester. She's rocking it though, so I'm really proud of her. So yes, it's okay. I know that I was on a video where I was not, or on a training and I didn't show myself up, and there was only 2 of us that showed up, and neither one of us had our videos on. And I was still in my pajamas and the other guy was out of the shower. So we had really good reasons, but because the guy was just like there alone with 2 people, we turned our videos on. So anyway, that's my story about that. So going live on Facebook, I have 5 steps. The first one is to speak to one person. The second one is to have a message for that one person. The third one is to have a story that encapsulates that message and makes it really, really memorable for the person who's listening. The 4th step is to have something that's going to grab people's attention from the very beginning and have a call to action, and then it's to put it all together. So number 1, as business people, we're encouraged to develop avatars. What does your ideal client look like? Well, even if you are just starting out, you have an ideal client, not an avatar, but a real person. Oh, you know, you'd be the perfect person for my services, for my product. Can I just take a few minutes of your time and explain what I'm doing? It's that person, not some nebulous cartoon character that, age 25 to 30 and predominantly male and professional. No, it's one person, because live streaming is an intimate experience. You're not talking to 100 people. You're not upstairs in Showplace and talking to that huge crowd, Joanne. You're talking to one person. You may be talking to one person in 100 different places, but you're still talking to one person. And your ideal client, either the person you are actually working with right now or the one person you really, really want to be working with, has a name, has a sense of humor, has a personality. And how you speak to that person is very much aligned with your message and how you communicate with them and how you engage them. It's kind of like telling the story of where babies come from. How you tell your 6-year-old is not the same thing as what you would tell your 16-year-old. And it certainly be what you would be telling a bunch of physicians who are specializing in gynecology. It's your audience, and the message that you have for them is so important, and you have to align the two. So the very second part is the message. Have something to say. And yes, even if you are choosing not to do a dialogue or a monologue, if you want to show people around your office, you're still having something to say. You're saying, this is who I am. This is what I'm like. You know, we've got some things in common. If you have a look, you know, I've got books. Lourdes has books. We've got a connection right there. So any questions about message and about who you are speaking to? You get that it should be one person, not just a cartoon character, but an actual person with a name and a personality and all those things. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yes,
Okay,
for sure.
okay,
I
I'll
do.
continue
Yeah.
on. Good. Yeah, it's like getting a, you know, you've got this thing and you want to share it with somebody and it's just like, oh, this would be perfect for. And that's what you do, is you send it off to, you give that message to the one person it's perfect for, in the hopes that down the road, other people that it's perfect for will be listening in. And my iPad is not cooperating here. There we go. Okay, the third thing is stories. Stories, real true stories, are so easy to remember, especially if they happened to you. So there, if you can tell a story about your message to make it sink into your ideal client's mind, the person that you want to be speaking with, you can remember the story and they can remember the story afterwards. And within that story is your message. So, you know, when I was talking about the people not showing up on the video because we were, you know, I was in pajamas and he was indisposed, that's a story. You may remember that, you know, for people who are speaking, having those faces in front of them is as important as having an audience or somebody in front of you listening. So hopefully that story will resonate with you and you'll remember, oh, the next time I go on here, I'm going to show up so that they can see me, because that's important for the speaker. We have to try to nourish our speakers. So if you ever get a bunch of women together, especially mothers, have you ever noticed how the birthing story always seems to surface if nothing else in common comes up? You know, I was 16 hours in labor and I was 24 hours in the labor, and there's this sort of contest, and, you know, I kind of top them and say, no, I was playing cards at 9 o'clock and my daughter was born at 9:30 kind of thing. But yeah, moms congregate together and they can talk about birthing stories because they've got that commonality, and that brings them together and bonds them. You can have parables. Aesop's fables all have a message in them. And there's other parables floating around on the internet. So if you can't find your own story to illustrate your message, you can always use somebody else's story, like Aesop. Second person stories. When you watch somebody and you can comment on that, or you've heard the story yourself, but it's somebody close to you. It's like my mom finding out about belly dancing and discovering that the opportunity to learn one lesson, she had another commitment, so she couldn't, but this obviously settled with her because her and my aunt went out shopping and bought belly button flashers. I mean, my mom was in her 70s at this time. And one day she was cleaning up the bathroom and she decided to take the shower curtain down and wrap it around herself and take dress down to her panties and put a belly button flasher in, and then go in and shimmy for my dad. And if you know my dad is never speechless, but he was gobsmacked. And he didn't say anything until the next morning. He said, Ma?
My husband.
Yeah. He says, Ma, You and I could sell the farm and rent the Manila Hall, and you could do your dance, and we could make some real money. So yeah, you can tell second-hand stories too, as long as they relate to what you're talking about. Excuse me, there's somebody at my door. Sorry. So one of the things that you want to consider is when you're choosing to go live, especially for any length of time, let the people in your household know. The cat's outside, the dog was sitting at my feet chewing on a bone, so I knew they were taken care of. But my daughter decided to go out and come back in the middle of it. So communication in the home when you're doing live is really, really important. There's a story. Hopefully you will remember it and think about that when you do a live feed. Famous person stories. You can use those too. Who knows of Gandhi? You know, helped yeah, everybody knows Gandhi. Would you believe that he used to be terrified of public speaking? He was asked to do a presentation on vegetarianism at Cambridge University in London, had all his notes ready, had practiced, was fully prepared, got up on stage and froze. His friend had to take over the lecture for him. But he wasn't committed to sharing his message on vegetarianism. But when it came to talking about freeing people in India, he became an eloquent public speaker. So that's the difference. I mean, we've got to be, for those of us who are shy, camera shy, have social phobias, we have to have a really, really compelling reason to decide that we are going to challenge that fear, because it doesn't disappear overnight. It stays with you. You have to be challenging it on a regular basis. And fortunately, with social media, we can do that. We can't get our stage time, but we can get our Facebook time in. And I don't remember whether I told you or not, but with Facebook, you've got this opportunity to set up a private group, and your private group could be just you. And you can practice going into Facebook and going live and seeing what happens. And you can delete it, or you can save it for a week and look back at it and decide, maybe that wasn't as bad, or there's some good things in there, but next time I think I will do this, this, and this. So that, and then you can invite a couple friends in to look at your Facebook group and say, give me some honest feedback about what you think about this, what I'm doing here. You know, is there anything good in there? Please tell me. And if there's, what do you think I should change? So having that opportunity to practice is making things a lot easier. You're not just talking to yourself, you're not just talking to a camera, you're talking to yourself when you look at it and look back at it again. Do you understand what I'm saying there? Is that you're talking to yourself, but not like talking into a mirror. You're talking to yourself, and then when you look at it again, you're listening to yourself. But you have to give yourself the same consideration and the same latitude as you would if your best friend was doing it or your child was doing it. You have to not, we're so critical of ourselves. We have to find the good. And so if you're trepidatious about looking at your video, leave it a week and then look at it when you're less critical, less terrified. And the other thing about stories is that they stimulate a neural connection. There's been studies done that if you're telling a story, the areas that light up in your brain, if people are paying attention, those same areas in their brain light up. Like it's just that profound, that connection when you tell stories. So yes, start collecting stories, because in every story there's a message. Sometimes that story is, don't do this. But quite often there's a story that is, do this. So if you start collecting stories about your business, you will have stories to tell. And as I said, you remember those stories a lot better than if you remember statistics. or studies or whatever. So, and that's another thing too. There's an adage that countries have studies and companies have statistics, and it's communities that have stories. And as entrepreneurs, we want to be building communities. You don't want to be building the corporate world is starting to realize that if they're not connected, if they're not looking after their staff, if they're not looking after their customers, if they're not developing a community, they're going to lose down the road. So you have your story. Now, what do you want people to do with the message in that story? You want to have a call to action. So it could be, you know, check out this or watch that, follow this, message me, sign up, think about it. There's so many calls to action that you can have around that message. You know, join, email, look for. So yes, always have a call to action, because what you're trying to do is get them to act on what the information that you've given them. Because if people don't use the message, they're going to forget about it. So if you give them, and if you don't tell them to use it, they're going to forget about it. So always have that call to action in there. Okay, so you've got the story, you've got the person you're talking to, you've got your message, you've tell them what they're going to do with it. Now you have to go back to the beginning, and you have to have a grabber. Now that you've got this, everything all lined up, the message and everything, you have to have something that's going to get people's attention. And on Facebook, on social media, you've got about 3 seconds. So it has to be something that's going to be pretty powerful for them to stop scrolling and listen. And this is the same thing with public speaking too. When you've got people sitting in the audience, they've been waiting for people to come on. And in the interim, they're thinking about the hot date they're going to have tonight, what they're going to cook for dinner, whether or not their kid got a decent mark on their assignment, whether or not they're going to nod off. So you have to bring them out of their heads and into your presence. And that's the same thing you have to do when you're going online, is to grab people's attention. So you can start with a quote. Steve Jobs said, "The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller." So I'm taking that quote and I'm reinforcing the message about storytelling. You can ask a question. You know, have you done Facebook Live before? Have you thought about this? Another one is the imagine scenario. For Joanne, we can talk about, imagine you're in the Showcase main theater up on stage, and there are 300 people in that audience, and it's up to you to tell them. So I've got Joanne's attention. Humor. One of the, are any of you familiar with Toastmasters?
Yeah.
Well, every year, yeah, Travis, every year Toastmasters has their world champion of public speaking. So everybody in every club in every country has an opportunity to participate in this, as long as they've achieved a certain level of experience on the Toastmaster stage. And the competition started at the club. They go to the area, then the division, then the district, and then they get flown to wherever the big conference is that time, and they compete in a region contest, and the region contest winners compete, and it's narrowed down to like 9 people, and they compete for the world champion of public speaking. So one of the world champion of public speakers, I think it was 2015, got up on stage, pulled a cigarette out of his pocket, put the cigarette in his mouth, pulled out a lighter, flicked it, didn't light it, and then he turned to the audience and says, "What?" So he didn't say anything, but that act of, bringing out a cigarette in a culture where people say that smoking isn't a good idea, it grabbed their attention. So you can, so there's things that you can do that are physical that makes people wonder. You can start with a startling statement. Obama said, You can't say it, but you know it's true. So I don't know what it was talking about, but I'm interested. You can be provocative. If you go to Focus 15 and look at the text that I put in the top of the video that I did with Christina Montoya, who's a dietitian who's very interested in our body's natural cannabis producing system. I said, you know, what do chocolates, mangoes, and masturbation have in common? That's a way of getting people's attention, because, you know, people don't talk about masturbation, but we did a little bit. And then again, provocative actions like putting the cigarette in his lips. So have something that's not just going to say, hey, I'm speaking, but just like, hey, I'm speaking. You've got to get their attention. So presentation order. You have a grabber. You get their attention. You tell them what you're going to talk about. You tell them the story about what they're talking about. Have your call to action. And then if you can wrap it up by tying it back to the cigarettes or the imagined story or whatever, do that too. Now, most of the time you want to have something that's fairly short on Facebook, unless you tell your audience that you're going to be doing a longer presentation. So if I was to do a training on Facebook, I would let people know that I'm going to be doing it at this time, at this date. It's going to take about 15 minutes. And so that they will be prepared to watch for 15 minutes. But most of the time you want to have something that's quick and interesting and has value to that one person that you've identified that you want to speak to. So, so you go through that and you make it quick, and then you sign off. And you don't say thank you, you don't say that. And then somewhere in there, you've got to introduce who you are if people don't already know it. So I would suggest that do the grabber, introduce yourself, do your story, your call to action, and close up. So that is my 5-step formula. Comments, queries?
That's great.
Thank you, Lourdes. Pardon?
That was fabulous. Thank you. Is there any
You're
questions?
welcome.
We learned a lot.
Any questions for Lynn?
What's your Facebook tag?
Oh, the weekly present interview is called Focus 15.
Okay. Cher, are you going to be sharing contact information for all your speakers?
Yes, I will be.
Like
Yes.
email address?
Yep, that will be coming out this afternoon.
Excellent. Good. Thank you.
Yep. I know I had a lot of inquiries for yesterday's speaker as well as Tuesday's. So yes, we've. So I imagine Lynn, you'll be on the list as well. Okay. I just need to know which email address you want me to use. Maybe you can shoot me an email which one you want me to use in the list.
Okay.
Because I have a couple of email
I have a
addresses.
handout that isn't. I have a handout to go to the people that showed up today.
Oh, perfect.
So it's not quite finished, but
Okay.
I will get that out to you, and then you can send it off to people.
Yes, and what I'll do is I'll also include it in the vault on my website under the business growth tab page. I have a vault that you can click on, and it shows all the videos of the week of all the presentations and any materials that the presenters have. So it'll be all in there for everybody to watch and download.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay.
Good.
Now, I would like to add that if you notice, I don't have any special lights. I've got a window facing me, so natural light is good. I'm just using the video camera that I had purchased for my computer. It's nothing special. My daughter is getting into voice recording for some authors, so we'll probably be getting something like a Blue Yeti down the road. But when you're starting out, you don't have to have a whole bunch of bells and whistles. Natural light is probably the best light you can get. And my office is too small to bring in anything else. But your smartphone, it's stable. You just, I've got a little tripod that I can use it's flexible. It can hook over doorways and things like that too. So it's it's stability and being close enough for people to see you. Those are the big things about that. I mean, there was a movie made with an iPhone 5 called Tangerine, and it was up for awards for cinematography and vision and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great little tool, your smartphone.
Excellent.
You don't have to be special. You just have to have that message. I was asked to monitor and give feedback on a training last night. And I mean, the message was so clear and so spot on for their audience. It wasn't for me, but it was for their audience. Yeah, there was a ton of things that I could say, well, you could do better here, here, and here. But those were irrelevant. The fact that they had a message that was spot on for the people that they were trying to reach was the most important thing. So work on who your audience is first. And again, it's that one person. And you might have 3 or 4 one persons. It's just like when I come across an email and said, oh, that's so perfect for. That's the one person you talk to when you're talking to on Facebook, even though there's maybe hundreds of people looking, it's that one person, because those are the people, the ones that you really want, those are the ones you want to attract. And so, yeah, just don't worry about the tech. As long as it's stable and got your gorgeous face in there, it's the message and the audience that are most important.
Awesome.
That's a true statement. It's very true. So thank you, Lynn. That's an excellent piece of advice. You know, in regards to, you don't have to have expensive equipment when you're starting out going live with Facebook or any of the other social media platforms. LinkedIn is getting able to start doing videos as well. And, you know, don't be afraid to use these features because they are the #1 ratings right now. And to improve your rating and moving up on the pages and through Facebook or LinkedIn, okay? Yeah, that seems to be the way to go now, is through video content. They much rather see that than anything else. And the shorter the video is, the better. If it's long, people won't watch anything over 3 minutes. Just a hint, anything over 3 minutes, people will not listen. So they actually turn it off. So you might want to, well, it's true. I see the stats.
You know, they're scrolling.
Yeah, so being a social media manager, you know what people are looking at and what they're not looking at, and you can actually see the statistics through Facebook or even LinkedIn. You know, I did a video the other day, a live video for the Chamber of Commerce here in Madoc. Yes, it was 12 minutes long. Now, the only reason it was 12 minutes long is because I was giving our membership an update on what was happening. And to be honest with you, I was quite surprised that when I was looking at the statistics on it, you know, 60% of people actually watched the full video, but 40% only watched the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So that tells you.
And there's always that. I will get back to that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they forget about it,
And
and
they
then
forget.
they don't. So, yeah. So the key here is keep it under 3 minutes if you can.
Yes. And if you find that you've got a really good message, but people aren't watching it, then break it down.
Yeah.
You know, either edit it so that it is within 3 minutes, because that's, even though it's on Facebook, you can download it and edit it.
Yes, that's true. You can.
Yeah.
So.
And for us Mac users, iMovie's perfect for that. Unless you want to get into some heavy duty documentary work, iMovie's great for most of us.
Cool.
Yeah. Is there any
Lynn,
other? Oh, go ahead, Travis.
Lynn, where is your business located?
Beautiful downtown Peterborough.
Ah, there you go. Yes, and you're a Toastmaster? Or?
I was, yes. I taken a bit of a sabbatical from that right now because I've got a whole bunch of other things on my plate.
Right.
But, you know, once a Toastmaster, always a Toastmaster.
Yes, I'm a Toastmaster in Ottawa and the Ottawa Valley. So, yes, I'm part of Valley Vintage, and Arnprior and Pembroke. So
Mhm.
my office is located out of my home as well, and I'm a social media specialist.
Uh-huh.
And so I am a Toastmaster as well. I'm in
Great.
Barry's Bay, Barry's Bay,
Yeah,
Ontario.
it's a great and unfortunately, it doesn't help people with their fear of public speaking in a great big rush. And a lot of people don't realize how nurturing they have to be for people who are absolutely terrified of public speaking. I was
Yeah.
determined enough that I withstood it, but I've seen a lot of people come into Toastmasters and found it too overwhelming and they ducked out of it. So that's sort of the area that I'm targeting in terms of serving is helping those who know they need to conquer it, want to conquer it fairly quickly, but still need that accountability and that nurturing.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm sitting right now.
That's
Yeah.
great. Somebody has
sure.
to be out there doing that, Lynn. It's to give the entrepreneurs the opportunity to get out there and learn how to speak and remove that fear, because this is the way of the future now. So that's
Well, yes.
for sure. So, is there any other questions for Lynn? No, everybody's being quiet today. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to say then let's wrap it up. And I would like to say thank you to each and every one that participated this week. And I will get materials out to you by email today of names and contacts of all the presenters. By the end of the day, you'll find the videos will be uploaded on the on my website, okay, sdpcommunications.ca, underneath the business growth page. And you'll be able to click in through the vault and you'll see all the videos, and when Lynn sends her materials over to me, I'll have them uploaded in there as well. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us, and our next event for 4 Powerful Days is going to be in April, so the 3rd week of April, and we'll have all new guest speakers coming out and educating us with some new information and what's going on out in the world. So anyways, I would like to say thank you, Lynn, for joining us today and giving us some wealth of information to help us through Facebook Live. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you in April.
Okay.
Thanks for everything you do, Sherry.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Bye-bye, guys. I'll talk to you soon, Sherry.
Bye.
Yes.
I'll be in touch, Sherry, with you.
Yes, Joanne,
Thanks for
I'm
showing
going
up,
to call
guys.
Joanne
Thank you.
first, and then I'll call you, Travis.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.